All right, we are live. Episode 8 of the Digital CRE Collision. I am Dallas McLaughlin, digital marketing professional at the James Agency in Scottsdale, Arizona, and I am with Bucky. So, Bucky, you introduce yourself and take over. Usually, you do the introductions. That got kind of weird for a second. So, go ahead.
No problem. You needed your shot. Nice work.
Yeah.
I'm Bucky Beeman, commercial real estate agent based out of Rochester, Minnesota, and love the internet, love digital marketing, and it's been awesome to see what the internet has done for my business. And that is where the conversation will go tonight, is a lot of different topics related to the internet and digital marketing. And let's start it off with some good news. What do you got for good news, Dallas?
So if you're talking about what we were just talking about off air, the James Agency landed a huge client. I probably shouldn't say the name, but a little Google work will find it for you. National client, 117 restaurant locations, North America, so Canada and United States, full service. So every single thing, TV, radio, PR, print, everything, digital, search, website, everything. Nailed it all. It's a major milestone for the agency.
All right, so I did some Googling. I'm on azbigmedia.com. The James Agency award-winning full-service advertising firm based in Scottsdale, Arizona, has been named Tilted Kilt Pub and Eatery's national advertising and digital agency of record based in Tempe, Arizona. Tilted Kilt is a popular national chain of contemporary Celtic-themed sports pubs with more than 95 restaurants in operation through the U.S. and Canada, and an additional 20 pubs in various stages of development. So, power of Google, I found it.
Yeah, it's huge, and it's a super cool process to be a part of, from basically when the request for proposal comes in, building that proposal, pitching it, going through the 2-month-long process to finally getting that carrot at the end. It's pretty awesome.
And it looks like your CEO, Veronica James, did I pronounce her name right?
Veronique. No one gets it on the first try.
Veronique, that's an awesome name. We love the opportunities that inspire us creatively and allow us to push the boundaries conceptually. So we look forward to a successful partnership with the Tilted Kilt and helping evolve such a well-known national brand. Cool, that is good news.
Yeah, it's a ton of work, and it's a year-long deal, obviously, then with option to renew. But we had to hit the ground fast because it all rolls out January 1st. So it's a ton of work right away.
Congrats. Good news for me. I guess this is good news. So we're working a lot in our office on processes related to the customer experience, from originally when the lead comes in all the way to when we close a transaction with them. And I just feel like the last 3 weeks we've come leaps and bounds related to this process. We have a team member, Elizabeth Sullivan, who's helping us create a handbook essentially for each type of customer. There's different customers in commercial real estate, such as sellers of properties, landlords looking to lease properties, tenants looking to lease in those properties, and buyers looking to buy properties. And there's so many steps that I feel like no firm, especially locally, has ever really documented those steps and then created certain processes, procedures, forms, things that help us get through that transaction in a much easier way. And we've made a lot of headway in this area. It's not an area I like. I really wish I didn't have to spend the last 3 weeks on that. I would rather be marketing all day, every day, and using the internet, but it's just like, it's necessary. I feel like leads, once we really put fuel to the fire related to marketing, won't be the tough part. I think the tough part will be making sure that we can handle these leads in a smooth process, so every customer is treated as we want them, no matter which advisor within our office is working with them. So we have a flow chart that's behind my screen. I won't pull it off the wall, but we have a flow chart. We got a handbook. We're just about ready to roll it out to the whole team and then start holding them accountable for taking each client through this process. So it's good. It's good news.
So is that something, I guess, tell me a little bit more about that. Is that something where it's like you're identifying a type of person before you meet with them to know when you do meet with the live person what that process to sell them looks like, and then like kind of facilitate their needs? Or tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so the different handbooks, I'm just going to pull it up real quick so I explain them exactly how we've created them at this point. The different handbooks we have created is new handbook for seller/landlord representatives. So first is, once we get a lead, what do we do with that lead? Do you just call them back? Do you respond back with an email? Do you ask questions to them? Once you ask questions to them and you get the response, usually via email, then what's the next step? Do you set up an initial initial target meeting where you're sitting down with them and going through exactly what they identified as their needs and how we can help them? If you look at general real estate firms, I think what usually has happened, and this is speaking from our firm especially, let's say we have 10 advisors, which we do. Usually advisors go out, they try to gain business, and they just come back to the firm and they're like, look, this person signed up with me. This person signed up with me. Whether or not that person is a good fit for the firm, I don't see primarily looking at it from a whole team approach of saying, is this person a good fit? Should have them as one of our customers. I think through the James Agency, I mean, you probably, the Tilted Kilt as an example, you don't just go and market every single type of business. You're after a specific type of customer. And we're starting to develop a process that allows us to filter through the customers that we should be focusing on, or filter through which team members should be working with specific customers of different types. For example, a person looking to build a hotel is probably not best fit to work with me as they would be Nick in my office, who's actually been a part of several hotel transactions. How do you make that determination in the best interest of the firm and in the best interest of the client? It's through going through a process that we've been working on. So does that answer the question as to, you know, kind of what we're creating and how we're using it?
Yeah, I think we do pretty much the same thing. I don't want to say for every client, but for a lot of the more dynamic clients, restaurants and hotels specifically will identify, you know, most people can say my target demographic is 36-year-old male who makes $100,000 a year or whatever, but that's super generic. What we do is we keep going further with that. So we put a name to a person, we put a face, we actually find some stock photo of a face, and we say, this is John Allen. He shops at these brands, he watches these TV shows, he eats at these restaurants, he works in these industries, he makes this kind of income, he has 2 kids on average. We go all the way down to when he lands on the website, the sequence of pages he visits, what he's expecting to see when he sees those pages. We figure out what his motivators are, the things that makes him buy, the things that make him share. So we go super, super deep, way deeper than you'd ever imagine before we ever roll out any kind of marketing or advertising. So when we do say, okay, we need to sell to this person, we aren't just saying, let's place a Facebook ad or let's place a PPC ad or something. We're saying to talk to this person, we need to place ads here, 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 and here. They need to see them in these orders. The messaging needs to say this, and the creative needs to look like this. So it's much more specific to a person than it is the brand. So it's kind of, instead of starting with a piece of creative and then putting it places, we start with a person and then find the places in the creative that aligns to them. So you basically flip around how most people think of the advertising.
That's awesome. So yeah, that's what I've been working on. So I don't know if you recall, but you had challenged me to spend some money on Facebook, for example. I haven't done that. And I guess, again, maybe this is one of my weaknesses, but it plays to me just focusing on this process over the last several months, which stinks, and I don't enjoy doing it, but it has to be done if we are going to start putting fuel to the fire, meaning advertising dollars to our marketing attempts, because then we're going to start getting a lot of leads, which we already get a decent amount of leads, but we're going to get even more. And we need to make sure we have the processes to properly handle these customers. And maybe one of my faults is I kind of feel like everything needs to be in working order before I start adding fuel to it. But that's my excuse of why I never have moved forward with that challenge. But I will once I get these darn processes figured out.
Yeah, I'm a little bit in the same boat. So obviously you challenged me to Snapchat. I don't know, maybe it's been a month or 2 months now, and I'm fully addicted. I'm fully in now. But at the same time, when I jumped on Snapchat, then I started thinking about, okay, so my Snapchat is this. Just last weekend, I joined Instagram for the first time because I figured out that my Snapchat was so business that when I had to post or wanted to post something personal, it was kind of out of place. So then I went to Instagram. So my personal, family, like after work kind of stuff, activities, that goes to Instagram. Snapchat is strictly I'm at work. This is what I'm doing. And then
Awesome.
I started going through the process of, okay, well then I've got my website, I've got email, I've got LinkedIn, I got Twitter, obviously. So I have this whole spreadsheet at home, but I'm kind of stuck in that, like you're saying, the process of before I'm executing on all of these channels, I'm trying to figure out exactly what goes on each one, which is kind of a double-edged sword because really I'm kind of not doing any of them full speed. I'm just kind of hit or miss right now, which is completely inverted of how I am here at the agency. At the agency, I'm the guy saying, no, guys, let's just go, just get it out there. Speed is, the saying is speed thrills, friction kills. So just keep going, get it out there. The world will decide if it works, and if it doesn't work, you know what to do different next time. So my personal branding is a little bit different than my professional work and client work.
Interesting. All right, well, let's keep the conversation going. Speaking of the process, I would love to just spend some time this evening on ideas related to content marketing and what we can be doing on different channels, or what we should be creating for specific channels. And I think you know this just as well as I do. The ideas are the easy part. The execution is the difficult part. But I'm really at a point where I know the fuel is going to be added to the fire related to my content marketing soon. I can feel it. The processes are finally starting to come to a point where we can release them and start working with them. And then it's a matter of how do we start getting leads in. So I want to focus on ideas related to content marketing. Also, for anybody that's potentially watching this, just like I know I'll get value out of this conversation, I hope that they can, and hopefully they can pitch in on ideas as well related to what you can be doing on different platforms, and who knows where this will go, because the ideas are endless. So what are some ideas you have now in dealing with Snapchat over the last couple weeks people can be doing in small business on Snapchat that can lead to results, whether it's short-term or long-term results?
So the way that I'm trying to, again, like we were just saying, I haven't fully executed what my plan is, just because I've been so busy with my day-to-day job and things. What I would like to personally use Snapchat for, and I've kind of done it, is I'm using Snapchat for those impromptu, basically out in the field moments. Like something happens, I'll do maybe a 30-second in a few different sections, because 10-second limit on your Snapchat videos. I'll maybe do a 30, 45-second video on some idea that was just sparked. Like there was one the other day where I was going to Starbucks. This charity stopped me. This girl stopped me to sell me a backpack to help children or whatever. And her sales pitch was done so well. She actually did sell me on this backpack. And it was such a different route than anybody else at that table trying to interrupt people into donating money takes, that I stopped in my car. I did a quick thing on it. And then from there, I exported it out of my Snapchat, which is where that content lived. That's where it was produced. I put it on my Facebook and said, hey, if you're interested in this kind of content and learning about these kind of sales tactics, follow me on Snapchat where I talk about these things. I did a similar thing over on Twitter, and I used the proper hashtags of sales and marketing and things like that for people that are on Twitter that maybe just starting to dabble in Snapchat and they're looking for people to follow, or they have questions, they can ask me over there. So I'm kind of using Snapchat as the origination of that content, and then I'm going out to my other channels to pull people back to my Snapchat, because it's tough to find new contacts in Snapchat. So I'm using the other networks to find those over on Snapchat.
So one idea I just got, and I've been doing this, like today's workout Wednesday, and I just try to get in a routine. Not that I'm a master of working out by any means, but it at least gets me in the routine of, one, working out, and two, producing consistent content on my social, which is key. I just had the idea of Idea Jam Friday. And what I mean by that is, so now I have market update Thursday and I have workout Wednesday, and I don't have anything for Friday, Tuesday, or Monday. Not that every day has to be consistent, but I think some type of outline is important. And the idea of Idea Jam Friday that I like about it is, I love ideas. Like I could jam on ideas all day. I just love it. Like, let's talk about marketing for this business, for that business, for this platform, for that platform. What tools are working? I love ideas. And so I think if I start putting out some of those ideas on a consistent basis on a regular day, every single week, I think it'll be interesting to see the interaction I could get from my followers and maybe ideas that they have. Again, ideas are the easy part. Execution is the difficult part. But it just, ideas got to get me on a high where it's fun to see where ideas can take you. And so that's one that just came out of the conversation we just had, where you said, when ideas come to me, I just kind of put it on my Snapchat. So that's another idea.
Yeah, and I actually just had this conversation with our creative director here at the agency, because he was asking me, there's still so many people that don't get Snapchat, and that's okay. It's a difficult thing to grasp. But he was legitimately asking me, how are you using this Snapchat thing? Because he doesn't use it. He's like, what are you getting out of it? You can tell he's actually asking. So I wanted to give him a good answer instead of just like laughing and being like, it's this fun thing, And kind of the way I described it to him is how I tried to put it in his terms. So like how he's an artist, he's a creative director, arts his thing, has like a sketchbook with him at all times, where if he gets inspired by something, he draws it or he sketches it out. And he has this entire notebook of ideas and things that he's come up with over the years. He doesn't know when he'll ever use any of them, but he has them just to get them out of his mind and out into the world. And that's a whole exercise in itself. So for me, that's what Snapchat's been. It's been this idea generator where I can put things basically to record. Yeah, they can vanish in 24 hours. I save most of my memories, which is a feature in Snapchat. And I can go back to those at any time. There was one that I'd been sitting on for probably since I started, so probably a month, that just turned into a blog post a week ago. I went back, replayed it. It was a little like 15-second soundbite, and I was like, okay, that's the idea I was looking for, and did a much longer blog post that expanded on that idea. So I'm basically using my Snapchat as my sketchbook, except just a different form.
Love it, man. And I just wrote that down. Use Snapchat as your idea book. Like me and frickin' sketchbooks and notebooks, like they just don't work.
Yeah.
Like I lose it. I'm pissed off that I lose it. Who knows where it ends up?
For him, that's perfect. That he's that mind. He's got it. It's attached to his hand, like how you and I have a cell phone attached to our hand. He's got the moleskin thing in a pen attached to his hand at all times.
I can't do it. I can barely keep track of my keys. There's no way I can keep track of a sketchbook. I am my phone for sure. I can't even keep track of a wallet, dude. I don't even carry a wallet anymore. So while we're while we're on that topic of keeping the snaps, the stories, this app, I don't know how I came across it, but they just came out with a beta that I was able to download, and it's called Snapped, SNAPPD.TECH. And what it says on the cover of their website: some stories are just too good to disappear after 24 hours, but with Snapped, you can take your time to discover, learn, and be inspired by amazing storytellers. So you basically create a website within Snapped of your own personal Snapchat, and then you can save your stories to it. And then from there, you can go back to your stories at any time related to certain topics. So let's start a hashtag CRE Tech. Any stories that have CRE Tech involved, like today I interviewed a CEO of a company that has a CRE Tech company. I can save it within Snapped, and my mind's going crazy of ideas of like, I want to have it on my personal website, so then that way people can see my content related to certain topics. Like that's one thing I've done a poor job at, is saving my stories, indexing them so people can find them in the future. The way that makes the most sense today for me, before Snapped, was YouTube. Save the story, put it on YouTube, put hashtags to it, put a description to it. It's there forever. I didn't do that. I haven't done it. I probably missed on keeping some good content due to the Snapchat machine that eats it after 24 hours, and I didn't save it. But Snapped is I think a tool that I'm looking forward to working with. So.
Yeah, kind of on that same idea. So one thing I do with Snapchat is you can have it automatically back up your daily story to your memories. That's just a setting.
What?
Yeah, it's in the settings. So you can just have it every night. It'll just roll your entire day story to your memories. I usually go a step further though, and then export it to my camera roll if I know there's a good section in there, and I'll trim it down just through iPhone's built-in editor down to just the part that I want. What my master plan to that is on this document I referenced earlier. When I get into the email marketing, and just like you were just saying, once I have a month's worth of content, I'll edit them down, combine them. So maybe I'm talking about pay-per-click on 5 different videos. I'll splice them all together, drop that into an email right next to the SEO video so you can click play on it. And then at that point, it lives on YouTube. So it's just kind of taking these fragmented stories throughout your week, compiling them into categories that make sense, using them for email marketing content, and growing also your YouTube presence.
Huh. I don't know where that setting is, but I'm looking for it. You don't need to look for it right now. We need to figure that out.
It's in there, so I got it. Because if I try to log out, it'll say, wait, no, don't log out. We're saving your story quick.
Ah, gosh darn it. And then now I ask the question, is there an if this then that? So if my Snapchat gets story saved, if it gets put into Dropbox, can it then upload to YouTube automatically? Like, how do I automate this process so that I can get my story out there, just get the distribution down? Is there that?
I'm sure it's there. See, I have a cousin who's a wicked smart developer. Like, what he does is design software every day. He doesn't exactly have, I mean, he's brilliant. He doesn't exactly have the creative ideas like you and I have and a lot of other people have, but he's got this other amazing skill. So I'm always like, oh my God, does this exist? And he's like, I could do that in like 10 minutes. And it's like, well, do that, like do it. Like there's these developers out there and I run into them here at the agency, like when we're meeting with clients and things. Like developers can make anything. They just don't always have the idea or understanding as to why. So if you have a developer friend, ask him and he'll do it.
All right, so let's keep the idea sesh going. We're on Snapchat. Anything else you can think? I mean, there's plenty of ideas, and these ideas obviously can be used for different platforms as well. I think, I want to start somewhat of an consistent interview on my Snapchat story. I did one today. It's not very difficult. Adding some strategy related to interviews on Snapchat, I think that keeps my story interesting because I'm kind of in my same routine and I show me working out and me going to the office. And because I'm working on processes, it's not extremely exciting because it's a consistent thing every single day. But interviews, I think, would be awesome to feature more on my Snapchat story.
Yeah, and potentially maybe Instagram is a better place for that. I don't know. It's part of the conversation just because of the longer length of those videos. I've tried to do an interview on Snapchat, and it was painful because the person you're talking to can't see the timer, and then they end up getting cut off. But yeah, it's still the right idea.
Awesome. Another idea that I would have is somehow, and I think it was the lady that's on Shark Tank. What's her name? She's a real estate agent based out of New York, but she started like this
Barbara
Cochran. So she started the Cochran Report or something of that nature in New York, and it really took on. And this was probably in the 90s or 80s, whatever. And starting that, I see a company in CRE tech called Real Massive kind of doing a report on people that are influential within the industry talking about where they see trends headed. And it's like, how do I start a report for our firm? And then how can that report, once created, be distributed very easily? So I really still feel there's a lot of value in kind of that annual report, quarterly report, whatever that, even over the newsletter. Like the newsletter, obviously there's importance to that. There's a lot more newsletters than there ever has been. So is it more impactful to have kind of the quarterly or annually or biannual report? And that's another idea that I haven't executed on, but I think would be cool.
Yeah, I like it. I had a similar conversation with the agency's director of PR. She might be able to hear me right now. I can hear her yelling about something. I was talking to her about other ideas for the agency about how we can put other things out into the world, just our knowledge out there. And she wasn't misguided. But her response was, well, the things I talk about aren't that interesting. It's public relations and stuff. But my answer to her was, no, that is interesting. There's going to be people that are interested in that. It might to you be so boring and mundane because that's your everyday job. But I'm interested when I hear her speak because I'm learning. I'm figuring out things I didn't know before she started speaking. And then I kind of turned that back on myself. I mean, there's a lot that I take for granted that is simple to me, that I think everybody understands, and it's boring to me. But when I start talking to other people about it, it's almost like sparks something in them, and they get excited and they want to know more. So I'm trying to do that same thing around here. Like, everybody's amazing at this office, at their whatever their one thing is that they do. They are amazing at it. But everybody kind of takes that for granted and they think it's boring. So I'm trying to make them kind of get into that content creator's mindset of, no, what you know is exciting. Put something behind it, and people will care whether you think it's boring or not, or don't know how, or don't understand. Just do it. Just try it. Get it out there. It'll figure itself out.
Like Gary Vee says, the market determines. So,
Yeah.
Put it out there. And then if you're at this for 5 years, like Gary said that, I think once, he's like, look, if I've been doing this for 5 years and no one ever interacted with me and I didn't see the return, I'm going to stop. Like, the market decided I suck. And I'm going to stop. But I didn't know until I started putting stuff out there. And then from there, I see, wow, there's actually people interested in this, and their comments are my oxygen, and they keep giving me oxygen. So I'm going to keep living and keep doing it and keep making. So I agree. I mean, you said that with Snapchat, dude. When I was like, you need to be on Snapchat, you're like, but my days are kind of boring. I'm like, no, they're not. Like, I don't know what's going on over there in Arizona. And I know you're in a world that I'm interested in, but I don't even know how to gain access into it. Now I feel like I have a little inside track related to topics, related to ad agencies, related to how it works in the big arena, thanks to following people like you on Snapchat. So sweet.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, kind of on your instant gratification is what everybody's always looking for with social, and it doesn't happen that way. So like the Snapchat thing, maybe it's been 2 months. I don't know what it's been, that I've been doing it pretty consistently. I stuck with it, and I'm just now getting to that point where it's still it's incredibly small following, but you start to get that feedback. And for me, it took about 2 months, and people started being like, oh, what is that you're looking at right now? I can't quite tell from the 5-second Snapchat, but tell me more about that. And then it opens up this whole conversation, and it's like, it could have just been the simplest thing in my day that meant nothing. It could have been this to-do list right here for tilt to kill to timelines and when deliverables are due. And then they'll be like, oh my God, I need to have that. And then you feel like you added value to that person, and they care more about you, and they watch all your snaps. So it takes a while to see any kind of return, and even then it's so small, but it's gratifying.
While I'm on that review report, quarterly, annually, biannually, one thing I've seen real massive, I think it's Mike Westgate is head of their marketing. One thing I see him do a good job at is taking bits and pieces from that report and then putting it out through other social platforms. So they'll take there's, let's say, 10 advisors, 10 agents across the country in this report telling about what they see as trends in CRE tech. And then he takes quotes from that and he puts it on LinkedIn with their photo. And then it also has obviously the link to the full report, but it's like, Bucky says that this technology is headed in the right direction, or Mike says that this is in the right direction. So taking in this distribution, I mean, we talked about this, it's the ideas related to distribution and how you can distribute the content once you get in the habit of creating it is endless. And that's one good way I need to be doing distribution better, is, taking little glips and pieces and putting it out on Twitter, LinkedIn, and other platforms. So
I've probably talked about that a bunch of times on this show, and I talk about it almost every single day here at the agency when we talk to clients and stuff. I call it the hub and spoke model, and I think that's a common term. That's nothing I came up with. But the way I always look at it is, your website is your blog. Your website is the hub. It's at the middle of everything. All the different spokes that shoot off of that hub are your Twitter, your Facebook, your Snapchat, your newsletter, anything else you have going on, any kind of like Facebook groups, any other outside networks outside of your website. And your website feeds all of those things. So let's say you do a top 25 post of something on your blog. You can take each one of those, the headlines from each one of those 25 things, and that's 25 different tweets. As long as you spread them out over a long period of time, Twitter can feed website traffic to you for a very long time. You can maybe do an infographic on Instagram that links back to your website, which is maybe the number 3 of that top 25 list. Your email newsletter that goes out can show the top 10 and say, click here to see 11 through 25. Snapchat, you can say, hey, everybody, I just did this list that talks about these things. Go see it. So everything points back to your website, but you're still using all of these different spokes to point back to that hub. So you have your one piece of content that lives where it lives, but you still go out to all your other networks, which are where the engagement and interaction is, and pull everybody back to your home.
Cool. Keeping the idea sesh going, Instagram, I love how you can put a photo and then put that in your profile. And I love how you can put hashtags. And what I've done a couple times, and I need to do it more, it's an idea that I think is a good one. Like, think of the photo on your profile as the cover to your CD or to your movie, and then push people to your story within that 24 hours period. Meaning, today I'm looking at glass buildings in Rochester, Minnesota, and have a photo of the glass building, and then go and feature every glass building you can find on your story. And I think that that is a way, and with hashtags, you could get new viewers interested in commercial real estate that may not be following your story today, but because you did the cover, that got them intrigued enough to open it up, put it in the DVD player to watch what's coming through your story that day. Now, the key is hashtags that get them introduced to that photo, and the creative has to be good. But I think that's a good strategy I need to play out more on Instagram.
Yeah, that's super smart. That's the first time I've heard that. You can use tools like Iconograph, which lets you basically type in like a seed hashtag, and then it tells you all of the related hashtags that you would use along with that, and what the average volume of people posting on that hashtag is. We use that a lot here at the agency. Instead of just trying to guess a bunch of random hashtags and hope they work out, you can be a little bit smarter about it.
Sweet, 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 sweet.
But let's start wrapping up a little bit. I got a long night ahead of me of more SEO and pay-per-click and stuff.
Awesome. So wrapping it up, thank you for anybody that tuned in to this conversation, any of our past conversations. We're obviously passionate about content creation, the internet, using the internet to your and our advantage related to business, and really pushing us forward in business and in life. So if you have any ideas of additional conversations we should have, we're open to it. I think, Dallas, our next one, we need to bring a guest on. I think that would be cool. We've had guests in the past, but we need to bring that back. So start thinking about who we could have as a guest. And let's wrap it up with a tip for anybody, just anybody in small business and what they can do on the internet. What do you see out there? What's some tips, tools, tricks? What do you got?
My biggest tip for today, at least, it'll be different next time, will be literally take a pen and a notepad, list all of your social networks, Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram, LinkedIn, whatever, and in one sentence under each one, write what your voice or your persona is for that network. An example would be, like I was saying earlier, my Twitter, I comment and share industry breaking news, but I provide my input as I would provide it to another person in my industry, so another me. So I would say, hey, this just happened. This is what you should do about it. Then I take that same piece of content on LinkedIn and I say, hey, this just happened. If you own a small business, this is what that means for you. And then I could take that same thing over, well, I guess maybe to Snapchat it'd be slightly different, but basically identify how you use each channel and what differentiates them. I think everybody gets one piece of content and then puts it everywhere, and it just doesn't quite work like that.
That's a good tip. My tip would be, I guess I don't know if I've said this before, but one thing I'm going to start doing more is working with somebody that's better at writing than I am. I'm just not, my strength is not writing. Not to say I can't provide a majority of it, but the grammar and all those things wouldn't be great. And I've started working with a young man that has the ability to, he went to school for English and all these things, kind of critique what I've wrote, and that can convert into my blog. So work with somebody that's, if your strength is not writing, recognize blogs and writing is extremely important, and it can produce so many, the spoke models, so many pieces of content for all these other platforms. Start working with somebody that is decent at writing, and through Google Docs, you can collaborate on a document to get to a finished product pretty quickly, pretty efficiently, and then you can start setting up the distribution so you can get it out to all the different channels pretty quickly, pretty efficiently. That would be my tip. Find somebody that's good at that. even if it's your mom. Like my mom's a school teacher and she's good at writing. Google Docs will allow you to collaborate on it very quickly so you can set up the distribution very easily. So that would be mine. Thanks, Dallas. Thank you for another good CRE Tech Collision, and look forward to next one.
Yeah, I had fun. This will go up on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, everywhere. So I'll work on getting that up even later tonight, and I'll share it across all of my networks.
Sounds good.
Awesome. Good talking to you, Bucky.